to the ClubLIFE podcast. I'm Michelle Rummery, the Head of Media and Marketing at Clubs New South Wales, and today we're going to speak to someone with one of the most impressive CVs in the club industry. Julie Emerson is a director of Pittwater RSL on Sydney's Northern Beaches. She's also had a stint as the club's president, the first female to do so in the club's history, and she is currently serving on the club's New South Wales State Council. Away from the club industry, she's got extensive local government experience, having served on the former Pittwater Council, as well as several other boardroom roles. And in her spare time, which it doesn't sound like she has a lot of, she and her husband are cattle farmers. So let's find out about all of that and so much more with Julie Emerson. Julie, welcome to the ClubLIFE podcast.
Thank you, Michelle. Lovely to be here.
There's certainly a lot to unpack here, so let's start off with Pittwater RSL. You're a long-term member, but you only put your hand up to serve on the board in 2018. How did you come to that decision?
Well, I'd been on the council and then the state government merged all the councils together. So we were the newest, I should say, council in New South Wales because we'd seceded from Warringah Council. So when they decided to merge us back again, I was like, yeah, I think I'm done with council. I'd done 23 years, thought, no, I've done that. And then I saw an ad in the paper or something about the board for Pittwater RSL and I thought, you know, I don't think I've finished my community life. I'll give that a go. So I stood and here I am.
And so you joined the board back in 2018, but like many of us, you grew up in and around clubs. I've been told that you were quite a fan of the Forestville RSL disco back in the day. Take us through your early interactions with the club industry.
Sunday night, Forestville RSL is where we went. We drank lemon squash and danced for hours and hours before we obviously had to go to work on Monday morning. But I guess the clubs were just a part of where you went. And I think in the old days, because I'm older now, you had to be a member of your local club in order to visit another club outside of your area. So if you were going on holidays to Coffs Harbour, you had to be a member of a club to visit that club up there. So I think everyone was pretty much a club member, whether they went there or used it very often, but I think most people were. And I also remember that I was a member of Hardboard Diggers Club as well. And I remember to be a member there, you had to appear before the board. So you all turned up and sat in front of the board members in the auditorium and I don't know what they did, but they voted to accept you. Not that they probably knew much about us, which is probably not a bad thing.
You mentioned your time on Pittwater Council before. You got voted in September 1995 and served for over 20 years, which is remarkable. You were motivated to take on the role at first due to some personal grievances, though.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. My partner at the time and I were we were subdividing a block of land, actually. And like anyone that doesn't get their own way, we whinged and bitched about, the local council wouldn't let us do this and wouldn't let us do that. And I think all our friends were a bit over us whinging because they sort of said, well, just if you really hate the council that much, stand for council. And we're like, yeah, we should do that. And my husband said, well, I'm too busy, you'll have to. And I went, okay. So I walked the streets. I had a 1-year-old, so I took her in the pram and walked the streets, knocking on doors and delivering leaflets myself because I didn't have any money. So you had to do everything yourself, stood out the front of Woolworths speaking to people and got elected. So the election was on the Saturday. On the Sunday, the general manager, as they were then, rang me and went, congratulations, you've been elected. Our first meeting's Monday. And I went, oh, God. I don't think at that stage I even knew where the council meetings were held, so...
And what was that first council meeting like?
Terrifying. I don't think I said anything. I think I just sat there with my eyes wide open, just looking, trying to work out how to do it, what to do, what to say. But I think I was pretty quiet for the first 6 months, to be fair, just watching what was going on and how people reacted. I think it was also a massive learning curve of all the things that I didn't know about council and the way you were supposed to act and what our actual role was and what their role was. So it was really, I loved that first couple of years. It's terrifying, but also really on a high learning curve, which I loved.
So your role there then led you to serving on the board of Local Government New South Wales, and you went on to serve on plenty of other boards as well, including the New South Wales Public Library Association, the Geographical Names Board, National Parks and Wildlife Advisory Council, and the Australian Driver Trainers Association of New South Wales, just to name a few. What is it about serving on boards that's so appealing to you?
I really like good governance. That's my area of interest, because I think if you have good governance, you will make the right decisions. And I feel like I'm not afraid of talking. And there's a lot of people that are, So I thought, well, because I can be in front of people and speak, then I should. And that advocacy role, I think, is really relying on me to do it. So I feel very comfortable doing that. And that's, I guess, how I sort of tripped my way into things and then kept going because I seemed to be okay at it.
Now, I'm told that one of the particular board roles that you enjoyed was serving on the Geographical Names Board. For the uninitiated, tell us a little bit about that organisation and your time there.
It was a great board. I really did enjoy working on that. So it's a state government appointed board, so it had to be appointed by the minister at that stage. And it was a very diverse board, so there was people from Indigenous backgrounds, there were historians, there were geographers, and anything that's named has to be approved by the Geographical Names Board. So any park, reserve, mountain, river, creek, road, intersection, all have to be approved by the Geographical Names Board. So I think I learned a lot about my state in that role because whenever anything was named, we'd have this whole paper on the history of it. So it was just really interesting to go, oh, that's really interesting. So now if I'm out and about and I see, a bridge named after someone, I'm like, I wonder who that is. And you can go onto their website and it's got all the history there. So you can, oh, that's who that is. There's a little bridge near us, near our farm, and I can't remember who. It's an Indigenous woman, Auntie so-and-so. And so I Googled her, and she was an Indigenous woman that helped all the early women give birth because there weren't hospitals or anything around, or there weren't even doctors really. So that was her role. So they named a bridge after her.
How incredible. Well, that gives all of the listeners something to do after they've finished listening to this episode, obviously. What are some of the more interesting name proposals that you had come across the desk while you were there?
Oh, there were so many I couldn't even pick one out. But I think the interesting thing that I've found is that you can't name something after a person unless that person has been deceased for 12 months. Because we all know that sometimes we name things after someone who's doing a really great job and then a year or two down the track, they fall from grace. And then it's too late. We've already named an intersection or a street or something after them and you can't really take it back. And I guess just I was there while the process of renaming Uluru and some of the other dual names along the coastline. So that was really interesting as well.
Julie, you served on Pittwater Council for over 20 years. Can you take us through some of the more memorable moments, highlights from that period?
Yeah, it's really funny. I think one of the most memorable moments is probably not memorable for many people, but really stood out in my mind as to what I was doing. And it was a young girl who'd written to me. I can't remember how old she was, maybe like 10 or something. And she'd written this letter to me saying, please, could we have a netball hoop in our local park? And I was like, well, of course you can. Like, how hard is that? Surely it can't cost that much. And I spoke to staff and they said, oh, no, you can't have one in that park because we don't have any ball games. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, it's a park. And it was quite a large park and there was nothing in it. It was just grass, basically. And I said, surely we can put a netball hoop somewhere. It just didn't make sense to me. So I went back to the little girl and I sort of said, look, the council staff are saying you're not allowed to have a little netball hoop here. So how about you find some friends? Let's, start a petition, give it to me, and then we'll go from there. Anyway, she did. She got like 100 signatures from everyone around the area, and I took it to staff, and she got her netball hoop. And so it's not very important, and it's not very life-changing, but it was really important to show that community does have a voice, and that voice can be reflected through me. And that was, I guess, my job was just to kind of go, wow, this is what I'm doing. One of the other, I guess, more memorable moments was during my time on council, I was actually pregnant as well. And we used to have meetings every Monday at 6 p.m. And sometimes they'd go till 2 or 3 in the morning. And we never stopped for dinner until after the meeting had finished. I was very pregnant and very not okay. And I said, this is ridiculous. I said, for me, it's ridiculous, but also for everyone else who's come straight from work, it's not a workable solution. Like, people were racing from the city at 5 o'clock at night, running into the council room at 6 o'clock and then didn't get a break until 3 a.m. sometimes. And no one wants to eat dinner at 3 a.m. So, I advocated for change for that, which, again, didn't really affect anyone else, except that we're making better decisions. You can't make a good decision at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Or on an empty stomach.
Or on an empty stomach.
And I would love to know where that little girl is with the netball hoop.
I would love to know where she is now too. It would be really interesting. Maybe she's a famous netballer.
Well, if she's listening, get in touch.
Yes.
Let's go back to Pittwater RSL. How does serving on a club board stack up against all of your experience serving on so many other boards?
Yeah, so again, a challenge. Unfortunately, I think historically a lot of club boards have been reigned over by people that don't have the governance experience that perhaps these days we need to. So I guess changing that culture is really important. So hopefully I can have a part of that to make sure that the people serving on the boards, male or female, are actually of a really high standard and understand the responsibilities when you are a director on a board and, you really are putting your house on the line.
You served for a year as president, the first female to do so, as I mentioned earlier, in the history of the club. That must have been such a huge honour. Yeah,
it was really great. It was a really great experience for me, but it was also a really great opportunity for me to really, we started off a Life Members Lunch, which we'd never really respected the Life members of the club much before. We hadn't engaged with them, we hadn't interacted with them. So it was a really great opportunity to go, they're a Life member because they've done something extraordinary over an extraordinary period of time. We should be remembering them. A lot of surf clubs have the photographs of all the Life members. A lot of clubs don't. They don't even often have a board. We don't have a board of all our Life members, and I feel like we should. So that was a great opportunity to be able to do that. I also took the role very seriously because everyone, I think, sitting on a board comes with a real reason. They're there because they want to be there, or maybe when they started they wanted to be there. And so I took that opportunity to sit down with all my board members one-on-one and saying, why did you stand? Have you achieved what you wanted to achieve? What can I help you achieve from here going forward? And what legacy do you want to leave?
During that 1 year as president, what did you learn from that experience?
It was very difficult at some stages, interacting with the rest of the board. I don't think that's any different to any other organisation. You have to really understand the people that you're working with and work out the best way to interact with them and the best way to get the best out of them. Sometimes it was over a beer, sometimes it was in the boardroom, and you had to understand where those people had come from. So that was a real learning curve for me to be in that real leadership role.
And when you look back on your time now, having served on the board, what are you most proud of?
Oh, that's a really great question. Everything. Everything and nothing. I think being a part of something is really valuable. It's something I'm really proud of. Being able to be a voice. We've got a lot of changes going on at the moment at Pittwater RSL, and I think it's really exciting to be on the board while those changes are happening. I was also the president when we went through COVID, so that was obviously challenging. And being a leader in that space and knowing my community really well, because I'd served my community for 23 years on the council. So knowing that I knew what my community wanted and what made up my community was really valuable in leading and leaving a legacy to those people during that really difficult time that we all faced.
I don't think there's an episode of this podcast where COVID hasn't come up. What was it like? What are your sort of standout memories of that period and trying to serve your community during such a bizarre time of extreme uncertainty?
It was a bizarre time of extreme uncertainties. I love that. The thing that I remember most was we partnered with a local church and we had food hampers for people. The guys in the kitchen made up meals, so we included a meal, and then the church would donate some bread from the local, Woolies or whatever, if they had too much. So we had these little food hampers and we asked for $10. And if they couldn't afford $10, that was okay. And so they would just drive around and, we'd just sort of be standing there in the freezing cold because it was in this little undercroft. But it's just really valuable. I think that's a really important part of being a leader in a club is having that real connection with your community. And, we're there to serve them. We're there to give them what they can't otherwise get. Trying to keep that connectedness with our members, I think, was really valuable. And so, yeah, that was a real standout.
I think during disasters, you always see clubs stepping up to fill that gap and to look after the members. And I think COVID is a perfect example, even though we're a few years away from it now, but it's still very fresh in the minds.
I think it is fresh in our mind, and I think that it should be. I mean, it wasn't very nice for a lot of people. You know, obviously a lot of people went through a lot of hardship during that period of time, but I think a lot of other people stepped out of their comfort zone to help their neighbours, you know, to ring them up every day, to have those chats over the fence, and they might not have otherwise done that had it not been in that sort of a situation. So I think we can look back and feel proud as a nation.
Absolutely. Every club has its unique challenges and strengths. What are some of the challenges facing Pittwater RSL?
I think probably the regulation, like every club. There's a lot of regulations that are there, a lot of red tape that we have to manage and work through. I think also it's hard to get staff often in hospitality when you're in sort of an area of affluence, of some affluence, I should say. The staffing is always a problem for us, getting staff to hang around. We're not on a bus route, so we're a little bit out of the way. I think that's a more localised issue for us, and just staying relevant to our club. We're very lucky that we have a very large block of land and we have a very big club, so we just have to make sure that we continue to make the most of that space.
And you are sort of in an area that is surrounded by other big clubs.
That's correct.
And pubs as well. What's it like being in such a competitive environment?
Well, you have to be different because you've got to attract people to your place rather than them going somewhere else. So what is your point of difference? Who are our members? I think data is really important in that particular space, because without knowing who our members are, we can't sell ourselves to them. Why are we different? Why would they come to us rather than going to the local pub or one of the other big clubs? And so I think that's always going to be a challenge.
You touched on red tape before. Let's talk about the challenges faced by the industry more broadly. I know you feel quite strongly about one of those challenges moving forward, which would be the age of directors.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, historically it's been a very male-dominated industry as far as the boards go, and they generally tend to be a little bit older. The board should reflect what the membership is. And if you've got a membership of, 20,000 people, you're going to have women, you're going to have men, you're going to have older people, you're going to have younger people. So we need to somehow create a board that is reflective of those members. It's very hard to get young people interested in participation. You know, they're carving out their careers, or they've got young families, or they're just trying to pay the mortgage. They don't really want to take themselves away from anything else. But I think it's essential to provide some incentive for them to be on a board so that we can reflect that membership base better.
And by the same token, it's quite difficult to ask those older members of a board to move on, because they're people who are passionate about their club. They've given hundreds, if not thousands of hours of their time volunteering to get the club to where it is today. I'm not going to ask you for a solution for the whole industry, but what do you think is the right step forward?
Oh, I think it's communication with some of the older board members and assisting them to understand that their role has been an enormous value to the club, but now we need to reflect that membership, which is younger people. And so I think it's helping people to identify what they do as what they do, not who they are. As soon as you identify yourself with what you do, then it becomes very hard to step away from that. I might be a cattle farmer who just happens to sit on a board. I don't identify my whole life as being a board member. It's only a little change, but I think that's if you can convince them that that's a good thing to be.
Your club is very unique. We discussed before, you've got quite a big footprint there, which is fantastic, and you found some quite innovative ways to utilise that space. Tell us about the pickleball courts that are opening up soon.
The Sip and Pickle. They open on the 2nd of November. It is the fastest growing sport amongst, I think it's women between the ages of 40 and 50 or something, and that's a great part of our membership base. So, we've got land, we should utilise that land and really make a better connectivity. We've got bowling greens, which obviously serve a fantastic purpose, but they're at the other end of our block of land, so it's hard to get the bowlers back up to the club, whereas the pickleball courts we put on part of the car park, so it's right there. You can see the pickleball courts from sitting in the club having a drink, and hopefully that will connect people with, I might give that a go next time I'm here. And also the same thing with the people playing pickleball might come in and have a meal afterwards, or a nice cleansing ale or a soft drink.
And so the Sip and Pickle, or Pickle and Sip, might be more responsible, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
That's opening up in the next couple of weeks.
It is, yeah. It's very exciting. So we've built we called it the Deck, which is sort of, I guess, like a beer garden and outdoor space. We built that just after COVID because we realised that people might not want to be inside very close to other people, and that was very successful in that space. And so we've connected the Pickle and Sip and Pickle to our deck so that then it does increase that connectivity.
Julie, how is the role of a director changing in comparison to what it might have been like in the past?
Oh, I think it's completely different to the way it used to look. I think the way it used to look is, that probably were general managers now, they're mostly CEOs, present a paper and the board would have just asked a few questions and adopted it, whereas I think now the responsibilities on directors is much greater. The expectation that we can read a financial report, that we understand the financial report, that we can make decisions on often a very successful business. So you have to have your head around it. And I don't think in years gone past there was that expectation, whereas I think the expectation from our members and the community, but also the regulators, is that we have a much better understanding of the role that we play as a director.
I mentioned before your role on the Clubs New South Wales State Council. For those who don't know, what does that entail and why is it important for the industry to have such a representative body?
Yeah, it's a great body. I really enjoy that role. So as well as being the Senior Vice President at Pittwater RSL, I'm also the President of our Clubs New South Wales region, which is Metro North. And then through that, I have the opportunity to sit on the State Council. So the State Council is being provided with information from Clubs New South Wales on issues facing the club industry as a whole. And I think it's really valuable on the State Council because we come from all around the state. There are some CEOs that sit on the State Council. There are some directors that sit on State Council. We have large clubs represented and then we have small rural clubs represented. And so it's really important for us as a large city club to understand how a decision made by a minister or Clubs New South Wales will impact some of those smaller clubs. So it's a really great way for us all to, I guess, to throw our ideas up in the sky and come down with something that actually tries to fit lots of different scenarios.
Away from your role in clubs now, outside of that industry, you actually ran a driver training business for many years. How did that come about?
Well, I think my daughter was she would have been learning to drive, so maybe 15 or 16. And I sort of thought, if I teach her to drive, then suddenly I'll have all her friends. So it was like an instant business.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
It was a bit like a pyramid scheme, and which I did do. I did teach a lot of her friends to drive. It was a funny career choice, really, because there's no repeat business. Like once you've got your driver's licence, you never have to talk to me again, ever. So in hindsight, it probably wasn't all that smart because you continually had to promote yourself. But I really liked it. I liked being able to make a difference to these young people's lives. Getting a driver's licence is a pretty big thing, and it does really change the way young people interact with the world or their world. And I love to be able to be a part of that difference. Yeah, it was great.
Well, we can have you to thank for the quality of drivers on the northern beaches
not my
now. Now, you are very passionate about giving back to the community.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the not-for-profit organisations that you've volunteered your time to support.
Yeah, so I feel like I've just always done something. My husband was the president of Newport Surf Lifesaving Club for a while, so I used to help at the bar as you could then, and I had my RSA, it's okay. So just help pour drinks and, just talk to everyone. I love doing that. I've done Meals on Wheels with my mother for many years, on and off. And so I think, everyone has some time to do something. And I think if everyone gives a little bit of time to do something, and it only needs to be once a month, I think, that Australia is really lucky in that we really are that kind of a community-driven country. And I think we have to make sure that we instill that in the upcoming generations. And, it is hard because, you are forging careers and you are trying to pay off houses, but, there's the school canteen or there's the reading a book at the library for, some of the young kids. And it's such a great feeling to be able to give something to someone else.
Particularly in the economic climate we've got at the moment, these organisations are really calling out for more volunteers.
Our communities couldn't run the way they do without volunteerism. The dollars saved by people volunteering is outstanding.
Now, in the introduction to this podcast, I mentioned that you're also involved in cattle farming.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your farm.
Yeah, so we bought a farm in 2019, just before COVID hit, just up the coast near Gloucester, or it's inland near Gloucester. And it's a beautiful, it's not a big farm, it's 160 acres. When I left there last week, we had 55 head of cattle, but we could have more now because all the mothers are pregnant. So hopefully we've got a few more calves. But it's a really great opportunity opportunity to get away from the bedlam of a city. In Sydney for me, Northern Beaches for me. And it's about doing something that you're really unfamiliar with. So I'm got no idea. I did do agriculture at TAFE so that I had a bit of an idea what we were doing. My husband's done horticulture and greenkeeping, so he always wanted to do agriculture. So it's like, yeah, let's give it a go.
Brilliant.
So here we are.
And what's harder, to herd cattle or herd club members?
Oh, that's a great question. I think probably club members.
You also keep very busy with your children and your grandchildren.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about your family life.
Yeah, so my husband and I are second marriage. So I've got 2 daughters. One lives in rural Victoria with 2 little girls, so 2 granddaughters down there. My other daughter is just left home. She's a Sydney girl, works at Prince of Wales Hospital. And then my husband's 3 kids all live up the coast around Foster. His son has a farm as well, so that probably sparked my husband's need to have a farm as well. And so we've got 4 grandchildren up there, so we've got 6 in total.
Fantastic, and obviously a good reason to hit the road and go and visit
100%,
everyone.
100%, yeah. They're all so far away though. Why can't they live around the corner?
Always good for a road trip. During the Club Life podcast, we always finish off with a couple of questions that we ask every guest. I'm going to start off with your favourite movie.
I don't think I can pick a single one. I do love kind of out there movies. Mm-hmm. So, I was thinking I love Die Hard. I mean, you can't go past Die Hard, really.
Number 1, obviously.
Yeah, number 1. Oh, it has to be number 1.
Good. We'll allow you to stay on the podcast.
If you're talking about chick flicks, it's got to be Pretty Woman.
Fantastic.
But something a little deeper than that, I think Erin Brockovich. I loved that movie. And that, funnily enough, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's really about community. It's about community coming together to fight the fight on behalf of their community. So I thought, yeah, it's probably apt that I would like that one.
Yeah, it's a very strong theme in your life.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Now, finally, why do you think that registered clubs will be around in 100 years' time?
Because I think being a not-for-profit, they are part of the community, they work for the community, and they are a safe space for a community. It's interesting, when I was single, it was very difficult as a single woman if you wanted to go out, but it was very safe to go to a club. One of the clubs up in Gloucester where our farm is, I've said this quite a number of times, we had those really hot days in summer, and so they put on their Facebook page, our club is already open and it's already cool, come in. And it's like, that's exactly right. If you've got no one to talk to, come to your club. If it's really hot outside and you can't afford air conditioning or warmth, come to the club. And it's a safe space for people of all ages, all abilities, all income streams can just come, and it's a nice, safe place to be. It's always been a part of our communities, and it should always be a part of our community.
That is such a lovely note on which to end, Julie. Thank you so much for coming on the Club Life podcast today.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Julie Emerson there, Director at Pittwater RSL. And that's all we have time for in today's episode of the Club Life podcast. Thank you for listening. If you're a new listener, don't forget you can listen to our back catalogue of interviews. Catch up on clublife.com.au, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Search Club Life Podcast to find us, and make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. If you have a suggestion on who might make an interesting guest, get in touch with the team by emailing clublife@clubsnsw.com.au. Thanks for listening. See you next time.